Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today was supposed to be a little different. I was literally just gonna plop on the couch and be a couch potato and just go through this list of plants with you guys and make it nice and easy, at least for me. But I passed through my plant room and it's a hot mess in here. I haven't really been like tending to my plants for a few days. I was sick, I had like the stomach bug for a few weeks. And then, because I was in bed for a few days, I just got behind on work and I have so many things coming up that life has just been a little bit nuts and my plants have had to take a back seat. So instead of just sitting on the couch, I'm sort of just gonna start just doing things that I normally would do off camera to kind of get things back in order while going through this list with you. So it's gonna be more of a chatty plant hangout with the topic of, obviously you would have known by the title, plants that I've owned before that I would never ever own again. These plants hold a special place in my heart for all different reasons and some for the worst reasons. So yeah, we are just gonna go through them and I'm gonna just start getting things cleaned up in here because we're just killing two birds with one stone today. Now it's funny, the last time that I posted this melanochrysum on my Instagram, someone was like, so why is it in water? And I was like, listen, I have a valid reason, and that is I'm lazy. And honestly, this thing has just been such a crazy spider mite magnet that I just haven't wanted to like pot it because it's a lot easier for me to just chuck it into the shower and wash it down that way. But I'm sort of just tired of it looking like this. So the sucky part is I'm pretty much out of pond. So even though these are water roots, I'm going to attempt a soil transfer, which is not impossible. It's just a little bit more tricky, I would say. Anywho, let's get started. So let's just go through this list really quickly. So I have not rated these plants in any sort of specific order of like worst to best or whatever. I just kind of started naming plants that I could think of. So the first one is a philodendron brandtianum, and man, okay, so if you know me, you know that I just love like a good silvery plant. I just love, those shiny bright leaves. I love the soderoy, I love the soderini, I love the majestic, I love my what is it, Scindapsus, silver cloud, I love the silver hero. Just like really any silvery leafy plant, it just kind of like makes me do a double take. So when I first got into the world of, I guess, non-common aroids or aroids that you could import, I stumbled upon the brandtianum, I would say early 2019. I can't remember where I got it. I might have gotten it from a seller in California, or maybe it was my sister. I can't quite put my finger on it, but I was in love. I saw those leaves, I saw that it could climb, and I saw that it could trail, and it looked beautiful in all the pictures, and I was so freaking stoked to have it. And then I brought it home, Beginning of the end. I just could not figure that plant out, honestly. At first, when I brought it home, I put it into my Mills bow tall, and it was on a moss pole, and it was growing seemingly okay, but I just kept getting every now and again like these leaves that would just get stuck in the petiolar sheath, no matter how high the humidity is. And this was around the time when I was running humidifiers in my cabinet. And that was a very short-lived period of time, but, safe to say, it was freaking humid in that Mills bow. And still, that plant just would not figure itself out. This was before I was using CalMag though. I'm not sure if it would have made any difference because it really did seem like a humidity thing. At least I thought it was. I did the sprays, I did the baths, I feel like I tried everything, and yeah, I just could not get a healthy plant. So I kept having to like chop it back, and I felt like it was always just this little tiny bush, and I could never seem to like get past a certain point. So I sold it. I got rid of it. I was like, this plant is just kind of stressing me out. It's not looking the way that I want it to look. And the reason why, I wasn't chopping them off just because it was having trouble unfurling. It was what it looked like after. It looked like very mangled. It looked really warped. It looked really sickly. And it was not pests. I did not have pests at that time. And yeah, I couldn't figure it out. So it was gone, and I was kind of sad about it, but it's one of those plants that I like quickly forgot about. And then I think it was 2021 when my neighbor and my friend Nick downstairs, he had a couple cuttings that he was looking to give away, and I was like, I still really like this plant. I've got a couple more years of experience under my belt now. Like, what's the harm? It's just a cutting. Like, let's give it another try. This time I just tried putting it on like this stick that I found, I think, while camping. And yeah, at first it was growing pretty well. It started as like a 1 or 2 leaf cutting, and it was slowly growing up the stick. But again, it reached a certain point where it was like, now we're done. And it just ended up looking exactly the way that it, you know, used to look, like the other plant that I had. And I don't know, I just couldn't figure it out. And at this time I was using CalMag already. I was in my full, you know, routine that I'm in now. And so yeah, I gave up again, and I've kind of vowed ever since to not try again, because it's just been kind of a disappointing sort of journey. But I will say that I really, really love the brandy. I think it's such a beautiful plant. I think that there's 2 forms. There's like the brandy that's sort of in cultivation that's being sold pretty commonly, and then there's another brandy. I don't know where it's from exactly, but it looks slightly different, and it's really beautiful. I did have an opportunity to buy one of those brandies before, but I was like, if it's anything like the one that I had previously, I just think that I'm setting myself for failure again. So yeah, had to say no to that. But I don't know, I guess I haven't really checked the hashtag like really ever, but I just wonder if there's anyone growing one that's super, super full and lush. I mean, I see a lot of people overseas that have really, really big ones. Oh my gosh, they are so beautiful. But it seems like most of these people are growing it outdoors. And the ones that are growing it indoors, like, they are successfully climbing up the poles, but there's not really any size difference. Like, from all the ones that I'm looking at grown indoors, it just kind of stays this small little thing, whereas everyone growing it outside, like, there is a very, very noticeable size difference. I've only seen a few people who are trying to grow it as a trailing plant, but it seems like for the most part people are having it climb. And I'm looking at some of these leaves and I'm like, that's exactly what my leaf looked like too. And it's not great, it's not great. So anywho, I feel like that sort of reconfirmed my struggle with it. So I've wiped down all of these leaves. This one is not ready to be potted. It's still sort of getting its bearings. These though are ready, and I'm kind of thinking of potting them together just to keep a fuller pot. These are both bottom cuts, so I'm not expecting any of the new growth to be as large as this. We're gonna have to start over again. And I think I'm gonna leave it poleless until I can figure out where that new growth point is coming out of on both of these plants, so I know where to position the pole. But I need a vessel. I'm gonna be using a pot with drainage, and then I'm gonna put it in this little cover pot. Ugh. You know what? I'm gonna stop repotting. Like, if there's anything else that I need to repot today, I'm not gonna repot it if I run out of soil. Because this is not supposed to be a repot and chat, okay? I love how I like make more work for myself when I don't need to. So I have to film like crazy this week. I've already filmed one video today and then I'm filming another one right after this. But I am having dental surgery done on May 1st. I am trying to get caught up enough. Maybe I don't want to put them together. So I'm having dental surgery done on the 1st, and that's because I still have one of my wisdom teeth in my mouth. I had 3 removed in 2019, I think it was. Maybe it was even later than that. No, maybe it was 2019. But the reason that I didn't have the last one removed is because it is growing at a 90-degree angle into one of my other teeth, and it is right next to a nerve. So my dentist was like, we recommend that you go to a specialist to get this surgery done. It's not like I would be put under necessarily. It's not that much of an invasive surgery. It's still just like any other wisdom tooth extraction. But I have requested authorization from my insurance if I can at least get laughing gas, because I'm so anxious about this surgery. But now that I've like requested laughing gas, I'm not sure if it was authorized yet, but now that it's out there and they've requested authorization, I'm like, what if I have a bad reaction from the laughing gas? Like, what if it interacts with my anxiety medicine, or what if it interacts with my antidepressants? And I'm just like so paranoid. But that's just who I am, you know. I have legit what is that called when you think you're dying from everything? Hypochondriac. So anyway, yeah, during the years of between 2019 and 2021, oh my gosh, I drove my doctor crazy, but I know that I lined his pockets so thick because I had an appointment what seemed like every other week, because I thought I was like dying from something. Like one month I like was so sure I had lupus, and then the next month I was like, I think I have high blood pressure. The next month I'm like, I think I have a heart murmur. And we, like, bless my doctor's heart, like, you know, he was telling me I was fine. He would do these thorough checkups, but he's like, if it will ease your anxiety, you know, we can go do x-rays, we can go do like heart scans and stuff. And I did all of that. We didn't find a damn thing. But still, I was convinced. I'm like, you're missing something. Like, something is wrong with me. Anyway, so that was that. Oh, anywho, why am I talking about this? Oh, yeah, my dental surgery. So, getting that done, and I just need to film like cray so that I have enough video. I have enough videos in the queue while I recover, and I don't have to like skip any of my scheduled days. And I actually feel like I might need to start posting one more video like a month or something, because I need a crown. For those of you guys who don't know, I have a missing tooth back here. I've had a missing tooth for like 10 years. I don't even remember the last time that tooth was there. But yeah, it's been over 10 years that I've needed a crown. And even with, you know, free healthcare or universal healthcare in Canada, it's still gonna run me like over $2,000 to get the crown done with insurance. So I need to hustle, like literally hustle. I'm not loving the way that like this plant is looking. Like, I feel like, whoa, she looks a little weird. Like, I wish this was facing forward. I don't know, it just is not, it's not the vibe right now, but I think I just need to be patient for when she grows back. But she is 100% dormant. This girl has not given me a new leaf in 4 evs. Anyway, there's that. Now, I feel like I should finally do something with this splendid. I feel like it's now or never. Like if I don't do something, it's never gonna happen. But at the same time, this looks so like disgusting and vile. I kind of just want to start from a small plant again. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I don't know what to do. Like, I want to chop this leaf off because it had spider mites, and that's sort of been my #1 help in containing this spider mite infestation over the last like year. I have stopped really putting a lot of effort into like cleaning leaves. I'm just chopping them off now and starting fresh, and like my collection has been so much better for it. So yeah, I feel like this is one I'm probably gonna do that too. Sorry, girly. You're gonna be in your regrowth era. Let's do this. Oh, I'm just gonna keep going through this and seeing who else needs me. Okay, now we are moving on to a different plant. So #1 was, like, when I first planned out this video, that was like the first plant that came to mind, honestly, is the brandy. Second plant on this list is the plant that started my Instagram trend of chopping runners and just chucking them at the wall as hard as I could. Oh my gosh, nothing has felt that good in so long, let me tell you. So this is my philodendron burley marks fantasy. I think this is the plant that I'm going to try to grow up a plank, a wooden plank. And I do want to pot it in soil, so I think I'm going to use the rest of this soil for that. I'm going to use one of these square pots that I recently got from Lauren. Okay, so it is the, yes, Monstera spruciana. When I first saw this plant, it's being annoying. When I first saw this plant, I was like, I need it. I loved the leaf texture, for one, is that got me from the very beginning, was the leaf texture, and it was the way the leaf looked, in that it had almost these sad looking pinnations. I don't know how to explain it. It sort of just hung and drooped down, kind of like an esqueleto has the tendency to, but it just looked like such like a snoopy plant. I can't explain it. It's just like this sad, droopy, lonely looking plant, and I was like, I love you so much. And yeah, I had the opportunity to buy it in a purge, and nobody really was interested, but I was highly intrigued, and I split it with Alice. Her and I both had a piece of this plant, and when I tell you, man, I was horrifically surprised at how difficult this plant was to grow. I'm not joking. It was not an ideal time. This plant is like as tall as the plank already, so I'm gonna chuck off these bottom leaves, and I'm gonna try and do like a little bendy action to keep it lower. I feel like I should do like a lazy strap to like hold in the humidity on this root. I am gonna put it in an exo, but I feel like it might not be enough. Because none of my exos are really high humidity enough. Okay, yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm going to first secure this sucker on here though. So anyway, yeah, loved this plant. Both Alice and I were very, very intrigued by it. We were so naive, yeah, the plant just kept pushing out runners. I only ever got one leaf successfully on it, and that was from a propagation from a runner. It was never from like the top cutting of my main plant, which was so annoying. You know, I had this plant on a pole. I had it in a high humidity exo. It was literally like 80 to 90% humidity in there at all times. And still, it just kept freaking running. I don't know what it wanted. It's like, it was already rooted into the pole, for goodness sakes. Like, it knew that it had support, it knew that it had something there to like hold on to and grab onto, and still just never had a freaking leaf. I don't know what Alice's experience was specifically with the Spruciana, but if I had to guess, I do think that she may have struggled with growing any foliage on it at all, which is kind of what you buy plants for, you know, for a leaf. We pay all this money for the leaves, and she never gave me anything. So I ended up just throwing this away. But I did try. I tried for like, I want to say a solid, like a year. Like I tried for like a year to get anything on this freaking plant, and nothing. It's just so annoying. So yeah, one day I just kind of had enough. I saw this really long runner again on the plant, and I just followed my heart. I followed my heart. I followed my instinct. That's what it was. Now, I think people misunderstood the assignment a little bit on Instagram, because it was kind of funny. I posted that reel. I just like went into my EXO. I grabbed the scissor. I chopped it off. I just grabbed the runner and I just chucked it at the wall, and like literally wrote these runners on the caption. And then people started, you know, chopping plants that like just kind of pissed them off. They weren't runners, they were just plants that like were making them angry, and then they would just chuck the whole plant at the wall, or take a scissor and chop the plant in half and throw it at the wall. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is not what I intended, but it was kind of funny. But anyway, yeah, Spruciana, just I'm triggered. I'm triggered by that plant. That plant has given me Monstera PTSD. Whenever I consider bringing home a new Monstera, my first question that I ask myself is it anything like the Spruciana? I mean, honestly, I feel like that plant has really kind of scared me into owning any Monsteras, including the Burle Marx's Flame. So I haven't announced, I don't think I announced it on this channel yet. Did I? I can't remember. Anyway, me and Alice got a Monstera Burle Marx's Flame. It's funny because not too long ago in a video I was like, I don't know if I'll ever own it. Oh my god. And shortly after I had the opportunity to own it, so I was being dramatic for no reason. But I've just had this fear that the Monstera is going to be like the Spruciana, and it's going to hate me. And that is one plant that I cannot fail. I won't allow it to happen. This is the smallest lazy strap I have ever made in my life, and I don't know if it's gonna work. I could also do saran wrap, but I kind of like the idea of doing a lazy strap a little bit more. Come on. You're so close. I mean, it's not perfect, but who is perfect in this life, you know? I mean, that'll help somewhat. Maybe I could like even fill some moss in there, or not moss, but stick some soil in there. What are you thinking? Hello? Does anyone want to? I feel like I need like a chopstick or something. I don't know if anyone watching here has any luck growing the spruce. But I don't know. I don't really see that many hobbyists, at least people that live sort of where I live, that have luck with the spruce. And I have a sneaky suspicion that's why the person who we bought it from was selling it in the first place. She's like, this plant, get it out of my house. We were bamboozled so hard. So I've got sort of a pole extension up here where that big juicy root was, and then I'm gonna take a Velcro tie and I'm going to secure the top of it so that this node right here is also basically flush with the pole. Oh, it's too short. Okay, can I stop cutting them so short? Like, what is actually wrong with me? How do you cut it wrong twice? Now, here are my initial thoughts, okay, with this poll. I just realized I did it wrong. It doesn't matter, but have you guys been looking at this? I put the thick side in. No wonder it felt so weird. Is it weird that I want to redo it? It's gonna bother me. I really wanted this flush side in. Okay, I'm redoing it because I won't sleep well at night. Oh, this is so effing annoying. All my hard work. Raise your hand in the comments if you were screaming when you realized what I was doing. Seriously, man. I wonder, I'm like, I feel like this should like slide into the pole a lot, or into this pot a lot easier. Duh. Oh, that's way better. Oh my god. Okay, okay. I don't know who I'm trying to fool with this little leaf down here doing absolutely no favors for anyone, so she's gotta go. So that was the tail of my spruciana. The end. Please fit. Thank you, thank you. Excuse me, coming through. Nothing to see here. Okay. You know, if I have to get up one more time, I will literally choke myself. Okay, next one is the Monstera Thai constellation. Another Monstera that I have been victimized by. So I think that it is time that I tell the full story of the Monstera Thai constellation that came into my life. I have talked very briefly about the situation that happened with a very expensive plant. It's the most money I've ever spent on a plant in my lifetime. And I'm gagged. So, okay, let me start from the beginning. I just want to preface, I am not shading anyone. This is literally just what happened from my point of view. And I am fully over the situation in terms of the people involved, but I'm still holding a grudge to the plant. I'm holding a grudge on the plant. Anyway, so this was back in 2020. I think it was 2020, or maybe a little later, early 2021. No, because I don't remember wearing a mask. Meeting, anyway, it was a few years ago, and this girl who was fairly, I want to say fairly active on our group, our local Facebook group, she was auctioning off this huge Monstera Thai constellation. It was from her mother plant. She chopped off the top. It had like 3 or 4 leaves. Like, it was pretty big. It was like the leaves were proper size, like they were fully like matured, fully fenestrated. They were beautiful. And oh yeah, okay, I remember, it was right before I moved into this place, so that was November 2021, I think. And I just had this vision. I was like, this is the plant that I want to put in our new bedroom because we have an east and south facing window in there and it's really bright, and I had this whole thing. I was like, I need this plant. This plant is mine. It goes on auction, and there were a few people interested, but sort of when it reached, I want to say like the $600 mark, people started dropping out. And it was kind of just between me and this other girl who was also pretty active in the group. Keep in mind, I'm a mod in that group. I think I was a mod at the time. Yeah. And so we were going back and forth bidding. It was getting close to the time that the auction was going to be up. So I'm like sweating, okay? Because I'm like, this is the most I have ever spent on a plant in general. But I had this vision. I was like, it's going to go in my bedroom. It's mine. She's mine. goes to like 650 and then like 655, 660, and it's really just getting up there. And she's done, by the way. I'm just gonna literally stick this in my EXO right away. I don't want any of these roots to dry out. Before I realized that I stuck the pole upside down, I forgot I was gonna tell you first impressions of using a plank. Super easy, way easier than a pole installation, that's for sure, but ugly. I don't like it. I really don't. I think it's really, really hideous looking. And if I had to see like multiple of them in like an open EXO or even like on my shelf, I think I would not enjoy that very much. And I would never use one of those in my living room because I feel like it looks, I don't know, it just does not sit right with me. I don't enjoy it. But we're here for experimentation. I want to see if I have any luck growing this Burley Marks fantasy up a plank, because I haven't had really luck historically with any other pole. So anywho, back to the Thai constellation. It's down to the wire now. It's getting close to 700 and me and this chick are still going at it. So mind you, so many people are like watching this auction go down because like, you know, it was hundreds and hundreds of dollars for this plant. And at the very end, I just bid, I think I bid 800 or 850. I think it was 800. And I got that bid in very last minute. And I feel like, I can't remember if the girl's bid was also 800 or if it was slightly lower, but my bid came in first. I think that's what happened. So I'm gonna say that we both bid $800 at the very, very last second, but my bid was first, meaning it was mine. If she wanted to bid after, it would have had to been higher than 800. So there was kind of like a weird confusion. I think she thought she got it, but me knowing the rules, like I knew that I got it and it was mine. And when the seller announced the winner was me, this chick was not happy, and I mean that's what it seemed like. And she wrote this comment on the thread saying like, oh, don't worry, like karma will come back around or something. And I was like, what does that mean? Like bad karma is gonna like get me for beating you? Like, what do you mean? And multiple people are like, what the hell was that about? And I can't remember if I messaged her personally. I think I may have DM'd her and was like, what the heck was that about? Like, that was uncalled for or whatever. And then she tried to like backpedal and say, oh no, I meant like good karma will come back to me and I'll find another Thai or something. But from how she wrote the comment, it did not seem like a friendly comment, and everyone who read that comment in the group like agreed that it seemed very like almost spooky. I was like, is this chick putting a curse on me? Like, I hope she's not into any of that stuff, because anytime there was like a rustle in the bushes, I was like, ugh, like it's gonna be her. So yeah, I was a little spooked. It was a little spooky-ooky. But I won it, and that was the beginning of the end. So I need to find something else to manhandle here, or woman handle. Sad Majestic. I don't know what the hell is wrong with this leaf. I think I'm gonna chop her right off. So I think it's time for me to glow my Majestic back up. This once used to be my pride and joy along with my glorious, and then they both went downhill at the same time, and it was a very, very bad time for me. But we're gonna get her back on track, and I think where it starts is actual substrate and a pole. So I really wanted to get her in pond though, I'm not gonna lie to you. And now I'm out of soil, so that's unfortunate. This is fully becoming a repot and chat, and I resent it. I resent it. I know you didn't do this to me, I did this to myself. But this was supposed to be a fast video to film and edit, and now I'm gonna... heck. Okay, anyway, so I win the plant, okay? We're leaving that situation behind with the mess during the auction of the girl who was what I felt not happy with me. She really wasn't active in the group after that. I feel like she, I don't know, I don't know if she was like embarrassed or like if it just gave her a bad taste in her mouth, but I feel like, I don't know, I was a little bit snarky in the thread too after that. I was like, what does that mean? Like I wrote something that was not very like, I don't know, mod of me. Like I could have been nicer. But I truly was like, is that a threat? Is she threatening me? I'm confused. And I was really, really taken back by it. But I do think that both of us could have learned from that situation and been nicer to each other. But anyway, I just feel like it's too late now. So anywho, that situation's over and done with. There was never any drama or anything with us after that. But I get the plant, okay? So we get to talking and, you know, I'm telling her how like happy I am to have bought this plant and was asking her like, oh, if you ever have like any other cuttings for sale, like I'd love to know because I have a friend who's looking for one too. And she's like, oh, I actually do have another plant that I could take a cutting from because I'm trying to like clear out my greenhouse or like at least sort of par it down a bit. So I think I'm gonna, should I fill it first and then? No. Sorry. So yeah, she basically just goes on to say like she has this greenhouse and she's wanting to clear it out or like sort of clean it up a little bit. So she's like, I could take the top cutting of my other mother plant, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that would be great. And it's like literally the same size cuttings, same amount of leaves. So she's like, you know, I'm willing to basically just sell it for like what you paid for yours. And I don't know, I feel like in hindsight, that's probably not, I don't know. Like that was an auction price, whereas this is like a private sale. But again, like auction prices at the time, or even now, really sort of set the bar for like what market price is, like what people are willing to pay for it. So I get it, you know. And this was like the peak of when everyone was like making freaking coin from selling plants. So I get it. But I just wish I had been smarter financially back then and not so like impulsive with my decision. By the way, I think I have enough pon here to just pot this one plant. It's mostly perlite though. So I end up buying 2 plants from her. Well, not me, but I bought 1 plant. My friend buys another one. So she's like, you know what, you're buying 2 plants. I'm gonna just drive out and deliver it to you, and like you don't have to worry about loading it into your car and like coming all the way to me. And I just thought that was super nice. So she got to my place and we were just like talking for a while outside my apartment building, and she was really nice. Like we had like a good conversation. We were out there for maybe at least like 20 minutes just chatting. At the time, like it's not like I fully inspected the plant, which I should have. Like this is a lesson that I learned the hard way because we were so like wrapped up in the conversation. And it's not like she took the plant out. It was like just sitting in the bed of her truck, and we were kind of just like looking at it from afar and like having a chat about, you know, I think we were talking about the auction and like the drama that kind of happened during the auction and stuff. She was telling me about her greenhouse and the care for the ties so that I could sort of, you know, replicate it. And then I bring the plants into my apartment, and sort of when the excitement of like meeting her and that whole interaction dies down, I start looking at the plant and I'm like, there's scale on it. Like first off, it was a pretty bad case of scale. And I was like, it's okay, because I knew scale. I had experience with scale before. And I'm just the kind of person where even if someone like says that it's pest free, I just kind of assume that like all plants have pests. I don't know. So I was like, I can deal with scale, that's fine. But then I go to unwrap the roots because she had it wrapped in like a plastic bag. Everything was rotted, like rotted, and it was nothing like the photo. And keep in mind, in the listing, she said that it was a fresh cut. So I knew that it was a fresh cut, but she said she had air layered it. Showed pictures of the roots. But what I think happened is that when she chopped the plant, I think she may have wrapped the whole bottom of it in just a plastic bag for like the 3 days that the auction went on. And I don't think it was like in any water or any moss. Like, it didn't have anything. It just had the humidity from the bag, and it was just sitting wherever she had put the cutting, because it was unsalvageable. It was just completely mushy. Like, you know when you touch a root and you just pull at it and then it just leaves that little wire string behind? So that was rotting, so was the stem. The stem was rotting, and I immediately, like, I don't even think she was home yet, I sent her a photo of the roots, and I'm like, okay, I wasn't gonna say like I want a refund or a partial refund, but I kind of just sent her the picture of the roots and was like, oh, like, you know, what happened? Or like, you know, I'm seeing some root rot. And she seemed to like kind of brush it off. Like, she didn't really think it was a huge deal. She was like, oh, like, they're super easy to root. Like, here's what I do. Like it'll bounce back in no time. And, you know, I'm talking to my friends and giving them sort of a play-by-play of what's happening. And they were like, dude, that's kind of like, not shady, but like, I feel like a good seller would be like, would offer to either take it back or like give you a partial refund for the rotted roots. Just because it's like not what was advertised, right? Like, I knew that it wasn't a fully rooted plant. I knew that it was not an established plant, but I was at least expecting the roots that I saw in the photo. And I had no experience with ties before, especially ones that size at that maturity level. So I was very nervous, and I had 2 plants. I had 2 big plants to fully root and acclimatize that had scale and root rot and stem rot. And if you guys have ever had experience with ties, I feel like the tie is such a challenging plant to rehab. Like, probably one of the most difficult plants I have ever rehabbed in my life before. She doesn't offer to kind of remedy anything, nor was I very vocal about wanting some kind of, I don't know, anything to make me feel like I didn't just get totally, like, you know, ripped off. But she was not offering it, and I'm not a very confrontational person, which is kind of the opposite of what people might think of me now. But gosh, this plant is like literally taking up this entire pole already. Like, look at this. It's already at the top of the pole. I'm gonna have to like extend it so soon. No, I didn't want that, but I can't chop it. I don't have a choice. Anyway, she's like, well, you know, let me know how it does in a few days. Like, she gave me some like tips and pointers on how she rooted her plants. I basically did everything she told me to because I had no experience with a tie before, and I knew that she knew better than I. She obviously grew it to this size, so of course I was going to take her advice. So I did everything she said. I'm starting to like peel off the scale that I could see. And then I see the thrips damage. It's like, it was so obvious, yet not. Because if you've ever seen a tie in person or have a tie, the back of the leaves are just as sort of busy as the front. Okay, maybe not as busy, but it has like its own sort of variegation in the back. Like, you can't really clearly see it like a plant like this, right? So now I'm noticing all of these like patches of like the coppery rust color and like the, you know, the little bumps that they leave behind. And I'm like, oh my freaking gosh, please tell me this does not have thrips. And lo and behold, it has both larvae and adults. And at that point, I had never had experience with adult thrips before. Like, that was really one of the first times that I saw it in person, and I actually didn't even know it was a thrip at first. Like, I knew that it had the larvae and I knew that's what it looked like, but I did not know what the adults looked like, and I didn't realize that it was the adults until a friend was like, oh shit. So Then I go back to the seller and I tell her what happened. And again, she's like, I've never had thrips before. Like, I've never seen it on my plant. Like, I've, like inspected or whatever. And I'm like, but there's no way that this plant has been with me for like a total of not even like a whole day. And even if it was thrips that happened in my care, it wouldn't leave like the scarring that fast. I'm like, I know 100% that this came from you. And she didn't really want to like admit it. She was just like, well, sorry, like I never saw any in my greenhouse. So now I'm getting peeved. I'm like, you gave me 2 plants that are like the most complicated rehab situation. It's not like I can just throw this tiny little plant, or yeah, it's not like it's a tiny little plant that I can just chuck into a bin or chuck into like the sink and give it a wash down, give it a spray. Like, these 2 behemoth, mammoth looking plants have to go in the shower every single time. How am I going to isolate these 2 huge plants? It was a nightmare. And I was peeved. At that point, I'm like, I feel like I was being really nice and understanding, and I was not being hostile at all. And honestly, I was never really hostile through any of our conversations. And I just thought at this point she would at least offer to like take one back, or like, offer some kind of like discount because you gave me a rehab plant. It just didn't seem right. But not once did she offer anything, but she did offer her thoughts and prayers. I will tell you that. So my normal pole mix has been not normal. Why am I okay? Why am I telling you guys blatant lies? My mix recently has been chopped up sphagnum moss with tree fern fiber, and someone had asked me why I'm doing moss with tree fern fiber. And one, I like how fast plants react to the tree fern fiber. Like, everything that I've put in tree fern fiber has like just rooted so freaking like aggressively and successfully that I want those results. But I do find that it dries out pretty fast, especially if it's mixed with other amendments. So when you add something like sphagnum moss that can retain a lot of water, it just holds it in a lot easier. And in that sense too, it holds it into the pole a lot better, especially on these big ones. The tree fern fibers tend to just like fall right out, but when it's mixed with this moss, it just kind of like, it just makes everything a little bit more dense, if you know what I mean. And the reason that I'm not just putting in regular moss and I'm chopping it up is because I'm trying to avoid these roots getting really, really tangled in the moss. I don't want to deal with roots that have to be fully, removed from the moss once I'm ready to take it off that pole. So if it's just chopped up, it like just falls right off, and it mixes in better with the tree fern fiber. So anywho, that's what I'm doing. But going back to the story, during the whole process, I just feel like I was really patient, and I feel like I put out all the like hints and cues out there that like I was trying to say, like, look, I'm not happy with this purchase, and I just like wish that this was delivered to me in like a much better state. But again, she offered her thoughts and prayers and was like, keep me updated, like, I want to make sure that these root for you, or that like these grow well for you. So I'm trying, and just I'm watching these 2 plants slowly decline, like week after week after week. It just gets worse and worse. I'm losing more and more leaves. I'm losing more and more stem. Sorry, that chopping was probably so loud in the audio. My bad. I'm kind of like at my wit's end with these ties, and I don't know, after maybe like I can't remember 100% what the timeline was, but it was a pretty, I want to say, quick decline from when I received the plant up until the time that, it fully died. But let's just say that it was a painful it was a painful experience. It was a really, really brutally exhausting experience treating thrips and treating scale. The scale never went away. The thrips never went away. The adult thrips transferred to some of my surrounding plants, and it was a whole thing. It was not fun. I was able to rehab my friends enough to a point where it got like a full root system. She did lose, I think, 2 leaves down at the bottom, but I was able to save it enough that she, you know, she got the plant. She was able to enjoy it for a little period of time before it succumbed to thrips again. But my plant just fully took a crap. I had nothing left. I never was able to really move it to like a permanent substrate because it was just always rotting. And yeah, I never told the seller. I just kind of kept it to myself because I knew if I said anything, she wasn't gonna offer anything that was of use to me. So I'm like, what's the point in like bringing it up to her and like making her feel bad if nothing's gonna come of it? So I can't remember if I had posted it on YouTube because I was YouTubing at the time already, and I think I had mentioned something about that transaction or mentioned something about that plant dying, and she reached out to me and was like, you know, I heard about the tie and like, I'm so sorry, like I'd love to replace it or like give you a cutting of my plant again. But at this point, like seriously, I think over a year had gone by, and I'm like, after this experience that I had with the tie, I don't even want another one, and like especially not from you. And it's like, it just seemed so, I don't know, okay, it didn't seem like it was really well intentioned. And I don't mean to like sound like a biatch, but like it really felt like she was trying to just like save face because people knew that I bought it from her, and now I'm like publicly saying like what happened to it. Because if she really wanted to like remedy the situation and make it right, she would have done it a long time ago. I feel like she should have offered to either like rehab it for me and like actually root it the way that it was rooted in the photo, because that's what I paid for. I never would have bid on a plant that was like a fresh cutting because I had no experience with it. I wanted something that I could at least work with, and that's why I felt comfortable spending that kind of money, because it had like a decent root system on it already. And yeah, I just felt like if she really wanted to help me, she would have done it far sooner than when she finally reached out. And I was like, I can't remember exactly what I said, but at this point I was like kind of done being like really nice and chipper and trying to like avoid confrontation, and was like, you know, like I appreciate the offer, but like I've just had such a bad experience with that plant. I just don't really want to go through that again, and it's been such a long time, and like I've already gone through so much with that plant. I just don't have it in me to like do it again. And then she's like, well, you know, like, you know how to contact me if you ever want another one. Like, I'm happy to just like give you a cutting of my plant. But I don't, like, honestly, I don't even think I responded. I was just really icked out by that whole thing at that point. And I still like, I kind of look back at the situation, like, was I in the wrong? Like what could I have done better? And if I like could go back and change anything, I think the first thing that I would have done, honestly, when I first messaged her and saw the scale and the root rot, is I would have said if I can return it or at least get a partial refund, because we handed her $1,600 that day. That's not like chump change. Like, that's like proper money, you know, and that's like money I would have had to save over like a good period of time. And yeah, I was upset, and I don't know. I guess if I was the one that sold that plant for that kind of money, I personally would have been mortified if I gave somebody a plant with root rot, scale, and thrips and then just like offered to do nothing. So that's kind of how I feel. I don't think that I was 100% like not in the wrong. Like, I definitely could have done more as a buyer, and I should have sort of like advocated for myself a bit more because of like how much money I spent, but I can't really do anything about it now. I don't like hate her. I don't hold any grudges. I'm like fully over it. But like I mentioned in the beginning of this story, I still hold a grudge to the tie. Like now I'm just like, no, I don't want it. Like even if someone offered me a tie for free now, I'm just, no, thank you. I'm okay. Thank you for the offer. That's very kind of you. But yeah, I don't need to like put myself through that torture again. I'm literally going to have to extend this pole the second that a leaf emerges, which is so annoying. Anyway, that's the story of my tie. If anyone is wondering, lesson learned. I feel like that is probably one of my only like real plant regrets is that plant, because it, you know, not too long after the prices of ties came down a lot and I could have like had a pretty decent plant had I just waited and more money. Whoa. But it's a learning experience, so just a painful one. Anyway, this one is done. I'm just annoyed that it took up this whole pole and I'm gonna have to extend it right away, but I'm back, or I'm going to try and get my majestic actually looking majestic again. It is messy down here. Moving on from the tie because I don't want to talk about that anymore. The next plant is the next two are actually Raphidophores. So the first one is a Raphidophora decursiva. When this plant first started coming out, so I knew about the decursiva long before it went into cultivation locally, but when it did go into cultivation locally, I was pumped. Because I thought it was such a cool plant, and it's not one that I really ever thought I would find locally, you know, at just like your normal like Home Depot, garden center, whatever. So of course, when it first came out, I jumped on it so fast, and I was so, I had big dreams, high hopes and big dreams. And, you know, all was well in the beginning, and it started very innocently. I was like, he's so cute, like so pretty, and take pictures of it. It's gonna grow so big for me. And I could not have been more wrong. I really couldn't. I was so garbage at growing that plant. It was comical, really comical. I had the same freaking issue with the runners. And it's not like the Spruciana that I had, because the Spruciana that I had was very juvenile. I mean, the leaf was a decent size, but the stem was still very much like a vining plant, like as thick as like, maybe a little thicker than my Micans. So, you know, the runners I could just like wrap around easily and just kind of forget about it. But this freaking decursiva was like so thick. She was girthy. It was like the stem was like this thick, maybe thicker, because I got a big one, of course. I had to get a big one. And the runners, they would just go. They would just go. And it, like, I didn't know what to do with it. Like, it's not like I could just like tuck it in and wrap it around and hide it, you know. It was like this huge like bamboo stick. And it was such a pain in the ass, and I did not know what it wanted. I gave it high humidity. I gave it fertilizer, gave it light. I feel like I gave it everything that I would give any of my other plants, you know, that are doing like pretty well. And so I couldn't figure it out. I was like, I don't know. I really don't know what this thing wants from me. I think it wants my soul. But I tried for a solid amount of time to get it looking right, getting it to look like a real plant, you know, but nothing. I rarely got any leaves on that plant, like honestly. I think in the time that I had it, which was probably close to like a year and a half maybe. I probably got like 2 leaves on it. And they were just like dinky little things that looked like this. Like they weren't fully fenestrated, even though the plant I already had was super mature. So I ended up just giving it to my mom, and she tucked it into a dark corner. Didn't put a pole on it, I don't think. And it just grew like a champ for her. It's not like I was doing anything different. She had it in no drainage. She had it in soil, exactly what I did to it. And yeah, it just liked her more than me. So I held a grudge, and that's why I will never allow another decursiva into this house, because that thing did me so dirty. So dirty. Which brings me to the next one that I feel like I have more to say, which is the Rhaphidophora pertusa. No, sorry, it's because I'm working on pertusa. The Rhaphidophora tetrasperma. Ugh. That was like, before it went into cultivation, that was like my dream plant. I saw a super mature one on Instagram and did a deep dive. I was like, what is this plant? It's so beautiful. I love it. I managed to buy one cutting from a friend who, I think she got it from NSE, and she brought it into Canada. Nobody at this point that I knew of had a tetrasperma. And I was on a high. I think I spent like $20 to $25 on like a single node cutting. And that was like really good at the time. Like her purge sold out so fast. Everyone wanted one. And yeah, I was so hyped. I was so stoked. The plant that I got from her, like it's not that it wouldn't grow for me. It's just that like I could never get it out of that just weird sort of preteen phase where it's not like, I don't know, it was kind of stuck in that phase where you know that it could look a little bit better, but it like didn't want to quite get there yet no matter what. And I had that thing for multiple years. Like I feel like I gave it a solid effort to try and like size it up beyond what it was, but it never did it. And I had multiple specimens. I got another cutting from a friend, which was a really big one. It was a monster. It's like what I saw on Instagram, and I was so in awe, and it was like one of my favorite plants in my collection for a while. But again, the new leaf that came out of it would be like this tiny little thing, or it would just not give me a leaf at all. I had a tetrasperma that was in my living room, and it just ran. It was just running. I just had the longest runner. I had to keep chopping it back. I waited until that really big one that I got from a friend died eventually. I don't remember how it died. But once that one died, I just kind of got rid of the rest of my tetraspermas and was like, I'm done. I'm not going to try anymore, because I don't know. It just looked so sickly, and like, it's not that I don't like the tetrasperma in its more juvenile form. I do think that they can be pretty if they're like all facing one way and they're kind of like climbing a wall. But the ones that were the tissue cultured ones that were coming out of Vancouver, and I kind of think everywhere, they look not good. They look really sick and just like mangled, and I didn't like looking at it. So yeah, I eventually like sort of fell out of love with that, and I just saw it more of like a nuisance or like a headache than a plant that was like bringing me joy. And so it took a while to like come to terms with the fact that like maybe I would never have like a tetrasperma that was super nice, but I'm okay with it. You know, it's not the end of the world. It was kind of sucky at first because I really liked that plant, but yeah, that was my saga with the tetrasperma. I'm going to be moving some of these low variegation albos to moss because they are super rooted in water. I have one elbow growing in pond, one elbow growing in soil, so I don't know. We'll see what I grow these in. I might try one with tree fern fiber, and I don't know. We'll see where the road takes us. I have been keeping these isolated because they came from a friend who has been dealing with like a full thrips outbreak. I did heavily treat it for the first few weeks that it was here, and I have not seen one thrip on it since it's been in my house, so that's good. But anyway, yeah, I'm moving them to moss for now because I probably will end up moving it to soil probably, and I find this moss to soil transition to be a lot easier. But this is really, really freaking dry. Next plant is the Ficus triangularis variegata. Oh my gosh. This is not a plant that I feel like I would normally gravitate toward, but for some reason I just really enjoyed the foliage of this plant. I will say that I like the green version more than the variegated version, but the variegated version is just as beautiful. I ended up getting, oh my gosh, what happened? Okay, so I think it went into cultivation and they started popping up at our local nursery. Sorry, I'm trying to like put the timeline together because I've owned 2 different ones. All was well for like the first, I would say, few weeks, honestly. I had it in my tent for like the first, I want to say month to month and a half that it was here, and it was growing really well. It shed a little bit of the lower leaves, but it kept growing, so that was a good sign. And obviously I didn't want to like grow it in my tent long term. It's just not a plant that to me makes sense growing in a tent, because I didn't necessarily want that plant for the reasons that I have a lot of my other plants. I think a lot of us have plants that we buy because we like fully want to enjoy them. We want to put them in a living room, in the kitchen, in a windowsill, whatever, because we just want to see them all the time. But then there are other plants that we have in our collection where, like, whether it's for experimentation or just for the sake of this hobby, we just want to see like how large we can grow it, how like beautiful we can grow it. And for like the Ficus triangularis, that was a plant that I wanted because I just thought it was beautiful, and I would want to make it sort of like an accent piece on a shelf, or, you know, put it in the kitchen or put it in a windowsill. I just wanted it to be something that I could enjoy all the time. It was more of a decorative plant more than a plant for this hobby. Yeah, my idea was like, okay, I'm gonna acclimatize it in the tent for now, sort of get it, you know, get it nice and strong. And then I'm gonna move it to a lower humidity exo, which is what I did. So I moved it to one of my exos that was about 50 to 55% humidity, and it was growing pretty okay in there. The growth was not as vigorous, but it was still growing, just at a much slower pace. At this point, it wasn't really shedding any leaves anymore. And then it outgrew my exo. And I'm like, I need this space for other plants. Like, I really don't want to have this plant taking up greenhouse space anymore. So I took it out and I acclimatized it to, or I tried to acclimatize it to my living room. I had a humidifier next to it for a while. I was using that Atmofix one that you just kind of like, it's like a little stick, and it was right next to it, and it kept dropping leaves. It just, at one point it was like completely bald, and I don't know if it was a humidity or warmth thing. My spidey sense is saying that it was more of a warmth and light thing rather than a humidity issue. Because it's a ficus, like it should be fine, you know, with just like normal humidity. But I do think that that's a plant that enjoys the higher temps and brighter light. And I just like really couldn't give it that outside of a greenhouse. So yeah, that one just completely turned to a stick, and it never came back. Like, I thought that the leaves would regrow, but it just never did. And so I just threw the whole plant away. And then my friend Erin gave me her super large Ficus triangularis, because I was like, I think around the time that she gave it to me, it was like the middle of summer, and I'm like, I could stick it in like my south facing window and it's gonna be totally fine. Like, you know, it's so hot in my apartment right now, it's gonna love it. So that just that was an epic grand failure. Within within like, I don't know, 2 days, the leaves just started dropping like flies, and they were just all over my floor, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is a disaster. It's a disaster. So yeah, it eventually turned completely bald again, and the plant was so large that there's no way that I could have even fit it into like an exo or a greenhouse if I wanted to. It was like a full established plant. Like, it was not a tiny little thing that I had before. So it was kind of just like do or die, right? And it chose to die. Luckily, I was still able to save like the trunk of it, and I eventually brought it to my mom's house, and I have featured that plant in a few, I think in the 2 videos that I filmed in California where I talk about my mom's plants, and I'll link it in the description below. It did like really well in her care because her office is in a south-facing window. She lives in California. It gets so bloody hot in that room, and especially in that window, and the plant just, it loved it so much. It's like this big bushy thing now. It actually gave her little figs, and it's so cute, and I'm so happy that it's doing so well with my mom, because that is definitely a plant that like I feel like my mom jives with. My mom is a variegated girl. She loves her albo variegated plants, and it's like they found each other, and it was like instant love. It had a happy ending, but just not with me. Okay, so I got these 2 repotted into soil, which is fab, but now where's it gonna live? This is always the issue. By the way, these are not staying with me. These are, I don't know what my friend wants to do with them. I think she wants to like wait until like a leaf pops out and see like what it looks like, and then maybe she'll like sell it or something. I don't really know, but I am the keeper of it for now. I think I'm gonna move into wiping down leaves, because that's something that I've been trying to actively do to keep away pests. So I'm gonna get cleaned up here a little bit and get out of this repotting mode, and just kind of do a hard reset, because I'm stressed. I almost just drank my go water like 3 times off camera. Alright, we got 5 left on this list. So I'm gonna be wiping down my SP Columbia Guapo, whatever she is. She's got a lot of EFN right now, which is very unlike her. She doesn't usually have this much EFN. But feast your eyes on this. Can you see it? Nope. Feast your eyes on nothing. Here. Let me take a photo and I will show you what I am looking at here. Okay, not the best photo, but you can pretty clearly see she's got a heavy case of EFN at the moment. But okay, next plant is the Aphelandra squarosa, which is commonly known as the zebra plant. Oh, this plant. I picked it up when I was with my mom, you know. I was in a moment, you know, she's like, oh, this is so cute, you should get it. And I was like, no, you're so right, I should get it. And I don't know, I just thought it was like a cool plant to put on my shelf because it has such like striking features and it looks so different than really anything that I have on that shelf. You know, like if you ask my husband, he'll tell you that all of my plants look the same to him. Couldn't be more wrong, but that's what he says. And that's just, I thought it would be a good contrast plant to have on there, and man, was I in for a freaking treat because holy thirsty. The thirst was so real with that plant. Guys, when I tell you I was watering that sucker like every single day, I'm not even exaggerating. I'm like, where is all of this water going? Where are you depositing this water? I mean, it grew pretty steadily, I'll say that, but I had never in my life met a plant that liked water as much as this plant. It was like, I don't know, I don't know. It's not even like I would see like guttation on it where it like, you know, pushes out like that extra water. It just held on to all of it. I don't know where it went. it was the greatest mystery of my life. But you know, I eventually figured it out that I could water this thing basically every other day. Keep in mind, it was in no drainage, so all of that water was just sitting in there, but it was being used. Like, she would dry out so fast. So yeah, I just watered it every other day, and she was pretty happy, to be honest. She was pushing out a lot of growth. Anytime I would miss a watering, like on schedule, she would just completely wilt and turn to spinach. But the second that I gave her water, she like perked right back up and was totally fine. She just was such a thirsty hoe. I couldn't keep up with it. So I grew it to a certain extent, grew it happily. When I was watering it very, very regularly, it stopped having like those crisping tips and like the crisping edges. And I had read that this plant prefers to be in higher humidity, but I can confirm to you, like, obviously it would probably love high humidity, but you can grow it in low humidity. You just have to like water it all the freaking time. And it does stop from like yellowing and browning at the tips or on the edges, but I just couldn't keep up with it. And so I was like, you know what? I figured you out. I feel accomplished. I feel like I learned some things. And then I slam dunked it into the trash because I can't be bothered with that energy. That's just too much. It's just too much for me. Like, what are you... At this point, it like wanted my soul, and I didn't really have a soul to give at that point in my life. So yeah, I just threw it away because it was just too high maintenance. Like, I imagined, like, what am I gonna do when I go on vacation for 2-3 weeks? I'm not gonna give this plant to a friend. They're gonna be like, what in the hell? Of all the plants that you're making me care for, this is the plant you're bringing to my house. It just seemed ridiculous. So I threw it away. It wasn't worth it to me anymore. I feel like I got a good amount of time in with it to bond, to enjoy it, to understand it. But I had to draw a line for my sanity somewhere. Gosh, this EFN is just doggone here. If you love watering, that's like one of your hobbies in this hobby, a hobby within a hobby, get the freaking Aphelandra sclerosa. You guys will be besties. Still sticky, but a lot better. I can't get over how much I love this leaf. It's sizing up so well. Hopefully we continue that path, because I feel like I have a track record of like being really, really good with certain plants, and then one day it just takes an absolute nosedive into hell. But this one has been pretty low-key for me since I brought it home. Definitely has an easier, I would say, growing pattern than my other philodendron El Guapo. That one tends to have like sort of, I don't know, more like yellowing and like crisping at the edges, whereas this one just kind of like lives with the bare minimum. But I am trying to prevent spider mites from attacking this beautiful leaf. I can see a bit of yellowing, sort of like bleaching on this leaf, and I don't know, it's under a 10-watt light, but the leaf was like facing up toward it, so I think it might be too much. But I'm just gonna leave it because it's been like, I've liked the progression of growth in the plant room, and I can deal with a little bit of bleaching if it keeps growing. We'll see. This leaf is a freaking beauty, so puffy. Alright, next to be wiped down is Miss Billy, who is actually pushing out EFN right now too. What in the heck is going on with these plants? They're being so dramatic, drama. Okay, next plant is the Scindapsus pictus-silverian. I don't ever want to bring one of these plants back into my home for multiple reasons. So the first reason is that I'm scarred from when I was accused of being a scammer. You can watch this video right here where I go in full detail about what happened with that situation, and it was all over a silverian. So I just, Every time I see a silverian now, I can't even really like enjoy it for what it is because all I think about is that situation and those terrible, terrible girls. Also, I feel like my track record with Scindapsus is not that great. I do find them to be a little bit more high maintenance in that, like, they're very, I would say, choosy or picky and choosy with their watering. Like, or I should put it this way, they're not very forgiving. They're not very forgiving with watering. Like if you miss a watering, sometimes like the leaves will like completely curl up, and for the most part when you water it, like it'll kind of bounce back, but some of those leaves will just not forgive you and they'll stay curled. So then you'll have this plant with like some leaves that are like fully open and then some that are like looking like they're gonna die. I don't know, it just like wasn't the vibe for me. So after that whole situation where I was gaslit into being a scammer basically, I couldn't get that out of my head. Like anytime, no matter how much I loved like a new leaf on the silverian, no matter how like cute my little pot was, I just always thought of that situation, and it just, yeah, it just didn't sit right with me. And anytime that plant would like throw a fit or whatever, I was very impatient with it. I didn't give it that much grace, let's say that. So the very last time that it threw a fit where I like got behind on watering and it didn't want to bounce back, I just threw it into the trash and was like, well, if you're gonna be like this, then you can go live with my compost. How about that? See how you like it in there, pal. But I don't know, I find that like pretty much all Scindapsus are a bit needy in their watering requirements or their substrate requirements. But again, it could just be me, user error. But I don't know, I've never really been able to grow a Scindapsus super, super lush and full the way that I would with like a vining philodendron or pothos or something. So that is why I will never bring home another silverian. It's not the vibe for me. All right, moving along. The next one is a philodendron Paraiso verde. This one's pretty straightforward in why I wouldn't own it again. I have tried. I had one for a small blip of time. I got it from a friend, and it really wasn't a plant that I initially loved. Like when I saw photos of it or saw it in person, it was kind of just like whatever to me, which is kind of weird because you guys, or I would say most of you guys, know that I love the long leaf philodendrons. I love anything with little bunny ears, just a long leaf in general. Like the Paraiso verde, why can't I talk verde? What the hell's wrong with me? The Paraiso verde is a plant that I feel like in all of its characteristics, I should, in theory, love. Like it's really not any different than a lot of the other plants that are super similar, but I just don't love it. And I think if I had to narrow it down, it's the variegation on it and the color of the leaf. So all of the long leaf plants that I own, you'll see have like a really dark leaf. The Paraiso verde has this like neonish light green color. Of course it's variegated too, or they're supposed to be variegated, but it just doesn't, I don't know. I feel like that leaf color doesn't quite do it for me. And even the variegation, it looks a bit sickly in my opinion. Like it looks like something isn't right with that plant. And I don't like how easily it can like revert. I've seen so many people having issues with reverted Paraiso verdes, and some people are like, give it more light, give it more nutrients, give it silica. Like so many of these like remedies to bring the variegation back. But I'm like, having a plant should not be that complicated. It should just not be that complicated, you know? Like, if that's what it takes to keep the variegation, like I have to blast this thing with basically the light of the sun at all times, then it's just not for me. I'm really truly not keeping any plant that requires like my blood, sweat, and soul. I'm looking around, like even some of my most prized plants, like my tortum, my scalprum, my Florida Beauty, I don't have to give it the entire world. I kind of just give it what I give it and it just survives. And yeah, it's just like the amount of effort that I had to put into that plant for how much I actually enjoyed the plant, it just was not, it wasn't there. It wasn't a fair trade-off. So yeah, got rid of that one, and that was so easy to get rid of. I was actually pretty excited to get it out of my house, but you know, some people call that like their favorite plant of all time, and to each their own, you know. Next one on the list is the watermelon pep slash pilea pep, and I don't know, I feel like when I first moved to Canada, I really gravitated towards peperomias. I don't know why. I was a peperomia girl, and I loved having them around the house. I had quite a few, but I just feel like, especially actually no, I think for both of those plants I had pretty much the same experience. All of the new leaves that would grow in my care just looked like toes, like mangled toes. And I just couldn't get it right. Like no matter what I did, all of the leaves would be like, they would come in like this, like a bowl, you know? They wouldn't be like that flat, nice peperomia that you see in the photos. And it's so funny because it like grows like that in the store, and they're like totally fine in the store, and then the second you bring it home, they're like, well, screw you, I'm gonna go to hell now. And I just couldn't sort it out. And I even had one, not recently, I think the last time that I would have had a peperomia in my collection was maybe 2021, and I think it was the Peperomi polybatra. Is that how you say it? Like the raindrop peperomia. Again, all the new leaves look like freaking toes. I couldn't sort it out. And like I feel like a lot of the peps that I see online also have the same issue. Like it's a little bit nicer to look at when it's a full plant, and like you can't really notice how sort of mangled some of those leaves are. But when it's a small plant and all the leaves look like that, you're just like, yeah, you can get out of my house now. I'm gonna help this poor soul out because she's struggling a little bit. So anyway, yeah, those were two plants that I really liked. Like when the watermelon pep first started coming out around locally, I was so happy. I love that plant so much. I just thought it was like the cutest little thing. It reminded me of like a little Sanrio Hello Kitty plant, and it was just so precious. But all of the leaves looked disgusting. Like I don't know what it was. Like I'm sure that maybe if I tried now, I think with, you know, mycorrhizal inoculants, with me sort of having, I would say, better fertilizer, or at least a better fertilization regimen, I probably could grow it better than I did historically. But again, like, I don't know if I like it enough to like put myself through that again. I just don't want to be frustrated like I used to be, you know, because it was like it wasn't a fun experience to just have this like nasty looking plant just like sitting on my shelf, feeling sort of obligated to keep it because I've had it for such a long time, even though it was like growing really crappy. I sort of had to reach a point where I think it was in 2021 or the end of 2020 when I was like full on freaking depressed and anxious, and I had like another bad pest outbreak. I sort of used that time as an excuse to get rid of any plant that was sort of stressing me out and just like not bringing me joy anymore. And so I just included that in like a mass purge, and I never tried again with the peperomia, the pilea pep, and then the watermelon pep after that. Again, the last one that I had was the polybatra, which is, and I'm probably saying that wrong, which I actually really like. I think peperomias are beautiful, and some people grow them so well, and they're just like these cute, I don't know, I still really find peperomias to be like the most adorable little things. I just don't have faith in my growing abilities for them to be fully transparent here. I don't know if this is in a pot with drainage. What's going on in here actually? Oh. She's really gonna have to be repot soon. Ooh, I'm getting hungry. It is dinner time. I have filmed way too much today. I don't know if you guys can tell, but I'm losing my voice. My voice keeps cutting out because I've been talking so much today. And frankly, I am tired of hearing my own voice. I don't think you guys understand how sick I get of my own voice when I'm filming all day and then having to edit for hours and hours and hours. I'm just like, shut up for once, would you? Okay, next plant is actually this is the last plant, the Pilea globosa. So I got this plant from a local, not a local, but a Canadian shop. They had some for, I don't know, pretty decent price, and I had never seen one before, but I just thought it looked so precious and so dainty and so cute. I was like, I'll give it a shot. She looks pretty easy. It's not that she was hard, honestly. It's just that she was really thirsty and so delicate. I mean, obviously I should have known that just by looking at that plant. It's like the most delicate little thing. I feel like anytime I even like looked at it, like her little balls would like fall off. And I would just have like balls all over the red stuff. Like, God, I'm really losing my voice. So anyway, yeah, it was a very, very thirsty plant for one. I did have it, I believe I was growing it in soil with one drainage hole. It was more of like a cactusy, succulent sort of mix where it was super gritty and had sand. But I did have it in a greenhouse. And it's not that I had it in the greenhouse because I felt like it needed high humidity. It was just easier for me to like spray it every day in there rather than have it on the shelf and get like overspray on my walls. So that was really the only reason that I kept it in there. And if you like followed my old videos, you would have seen that I included it in like some favorites videos and stuff because I really did enjoy it while I had it. I just thought it was like the most, I don't know, it just was so cute. It was so precious and dainty. I don't know what other adjectives to use to describe it. That's all I can say. It was just so precious and dainty. But that was also its like biggest downfall, is that it would just, the second that it didn't have water or whatever, it just completely would like shed and just like be down to sticks. And it was really frustrating. And it was just kind of messy, like having all those like balls fall all over the place all the time was just not ideal for me. It eventually croaked when I went to California for one of my trips. I think I was gone for 2.5 weeks. And I only had, I believe, my neighbor Nick that was coming, I don't know, every week or something. And that plant, and I should have known. I should have put it like in like a dome or something, but I knew that that plant needed a lot of water regularly, but I at the same time was not gonna ask Nick to come here like every few days just to water it, you know, like that's ridiculous. I always try and like make it as easy as possible for the people that are caring for my plants, and like I'm just fully aware that some plants will croak and completely die while I'm gone. It's not always the case, but I'm at least prepared for it. And so when I came back and that one was just completely dry, it was like ashes. I was like, well, yeah, that makes sense. That makes complete sense. And I think that was the only plant that died during that trip, and I believe it was a summer trip, so I'm not, like, truly not surprised at all that it croaked. I didn't feel any type of way. I wasn't super sad. I actually felt more relief that I could finally just, like, not worry about that plant anymore, because it was too much. Too much. It was way too high maintenance. So anyway, that is my whole list, and wow, I have been filming for hours when this was supposed to be like a 20-minute video, but of course I like to make things more complicated than they need to be. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed my little list. I would love to know what are plants that you would never bring into your house again and why. I'm pretty sure that I missed some. I really tried to like go back through my Instagram and like see who I've had before, but it's such a blur. It's such a blur. Especially, after 2020, I'm just like, what have I even brought into this house? It's wild. But yeah, if you guys liked it, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up because it helps us a lot on YouTube. Thank you guys for watching another video. I super appreciate you guys being here. I hit 15K over this week, and my goal was to hit 15K subs by June of this year, so we're a little early, which is really exciting. My overall goal is just to hit 20K this year. I don't know if that'll happen. That's kind of a big goal. I don't know if I can get another 5,000 this year, but we'll see. But I am grateful for everyone that is here, so thank you guys so much, and I'll see you in the next one.